the thing I want to point out is it appears to me that especially in the Middle Eastern countries where the Shiite Islam is very strong, where they believe in the doctrine of the 12th Imam, who is supposed to be the Mahdi to appear, that they are beginning to believe that it's connected to this white horse rider. And I think that it's bizarre, but it's also extremely interesting because, again, to traditional Christian theology, the white horse rider would be the man identified as the Antichrist. And we've done some studies on Antichrist, and it doesn't necessarily mean, when we use antichristos, it means anti is always against, but there's other meanings to that in Hebrew, isn't there? It doesn't just, well, explain that to people.
Well, I mean, some people have the idea that Antichrist means that he is an imposter, a prototype.
He's saying he's Jesus.
Right. He's saying, I'm the Messiah, etc., etc.
Right.
Now, the way I see it, Perry, is that he is anti-Messiah. He is against, because we need to understand that to understand the book of Revelation, you've got to understand the book of Genesis. Isaiah 46:10 talks about how God has from the beginning revealed the end. And so in the very beginning, what you see is two opposing seeds, two opposing, personalities, etc. Cain, Abel, Esau, Jacob, Ishmael, Isaac. They are related, but they oppose one another. And so I see it as the Messiah, or excuse me, the anti-Messiah is against, he opposes. He opposes God in his temple and those who worship there.
How would you oppose the true Messiah, which we know biblically is Jesus, Yeshua? How would you oppose him? In my opinion, based on 1 John, this is Bible now, 1 John chapter 1, chapter 2, and I think chapter 4, it mentions ho antichristos, or the Antichrist, 4 times. The word Antichrist. And it says it's the spirit that denies that Jesus is the Son of God.
Right.
So how would you be against Christ, against the Messiah? By denying his relationship with the Father.
Right.
And one of the main tenets of Islam, in fact, my friends that I have that are Muslim, when we get into, and we get in very peaceful discussions about this, that's where they believe in Isa ibn Maryam, or Jesus the son of Mary. They believe that, believe it or not, they believe Jesus was born of a virgin. Some people don't know that, but they do.
And they believe he was a prophet.
They believe he was a prophet. They believe that even the Quran mentions Mary, esteems her highly. So we have all that there. But they have a real block there in saying, how could God have a son when Allah is not begotten, nor does he begot?
Now, when President Tom speaks in front of the UN General Assembly tomorrow, you'll likely hear all the typical rhetoric about how peaceful they are and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. But if his previous addresses are any indication, the media will probably ignore what is perhaps the most important part of his speech. Here he is at the UN in 2005.
Almighty Lord, I pray to you to hasten the emergence of your last repository, the promised one, that perfect and pure human being, the one that will fulfill this world with justice and peace.
Okay, this is what he said at the end of his speech last year as well at the UN. After calling for the return of the promised one, Ahmadinejad left the stage in 2005 and said to a cleric, and I quote, "I felt that all of a sudden the atmosphere changed, and for 27 to 28 minutes the leaders did not blink," end quote. President Ahmadinejad has been quietly talking about his belief, and this is important that you understand this, that we are in the end days. The real story is, he's not bearing this lead anymore. Listen to his opening remarks this afternoon at Columbia.
O God, hasten the arrival of Imam al-Mahdi and grant him good health and victory, and make us his followers and those who attest to his rightfulness.
Okay. I hope you're starting to hear a pattern here. This guy is openly praying for the return of the Mahdi in almost every speech, and now he's starting his speeches with that, yet no one in the media is even bothering to do their homework on what that really means. Basically, think of the Mahdi as the Shiite Muslim version of the second coming of Jesus Christ. But unlike Christians, the Twelvers, as they're called, President Tom is a Twelver, believe that they can hasten the Mahdi's return by creating the right conditions for it. Unfortunately for us, those conditions are pretty simple. Chaos, war, bloodshed. Because only then can the Mahdi return with peace and justice. Think about that. Ahmadinejad must usher in chaos and war before he can fulfill his destiny. That is why he wants a nuclear program. That is why he threatens Israel in the West. And that is why he's killing our soldiers in Iraq. To him, the United States is the only thing stopping the war and chaos that he needs. And believe it or not, that makes us the great Satan otherwise known in the West to you and me as the literal antichrist. When your politics are your religion, it is impossible to understand one without first understanding the other.
I can see anti-Messiah is saying, yes, Jesus is good, he's a prophet or a good man, but he is not what you think he is.
Right, and the bottom line is that there are some in the Islamic world who could consider you and I and a lot of our Jewish brethren to be infidels. Mm-hmm. And amongst these group, in these so-called fundamentalists and radicals,
pockets of places around the world, yeah,
they feel like that you and I and others like us are infidels, and that we are the enemy, and it is their mission, commissioned by the Quran, they believe, to go and to destroy us. And that's
why America, as we talked last week, is such a target, because they see America as a Christian nation.
Right.
And there again, we don't know the percentage. Some say it may be 2 to 5% of the whole group that would think that way. But 2 or 5% in the world, when you have 1.4 million followers, could be as high as 100 to 200 million easy.
Well,
so that's again, there we go into why, because they say, why would they attack us? We've done nothing. But it's just the fact that it's a belief, it's an attack on the religious.
Well, notice they always link us with Israel.
Right.
Why is that? It's because of we have this book in common, by and large.
Right.
Well, the other thing I felt was that evil men, evil people, are going to try to do evil things to us and to others during the last part of this year. I don't know whether it'll be in the fall or September or later on, but it'll be the second half somehow of 2007.